Okay, here we are. I actually cannot believe that we're all here in this studio after actually Bjarne from Kubrix called me 1 week ago and he said, we are putting up this podcast studio and do you want to join? And then I was thinking about it for like 1 minute, I think, and I said, yes, let's do it. And now 1 week later, we have our own first podcasts. And after a lot of thinking and 140 different suggestions about the new name, we decided that for the more simple, straightforward name, which is Ramfjord Art Talks. So this is the first episode, and I'm sitting here with 4 amazing artists that are currently in Gallery Ramfjord, in our gallery painting at an artist in residencies. And as I was yesterday, someone told me, it was actually you, that it might be more listeners than viewers. So instead of me introducing you, I will actually let you introduce yourself, starting with you.
Yay! I'm. My name is Valeria Duca. I'm a painter. I work in a figurative, realistic style. And originally I'm from Moldova, but then I live in Norway. No, I don't live in Norway anymore. I moved to Washington, but then I'm here at the residency, enjoying the time here. Yeah.
And
yes, my name is Arne Spangereid, and I come from the south coast of Norway. I paint in oils, and I'm mainly known, I guess, for my cityscapes. I have lived and studied art in Malta and the US of A, as well as Norway. I'm so happy to be in this residency with all of these great people.
Good.
My name is Kesja Tabaczuk. Originally I'm from Poland. I've been living in Norway for 4 years now. I studied art for 6 years back in Poland, and now I'm lucky to be represented by Gallery Ramfjord.
Oh.
I'm Gabriel Schmitz. I'm German origin, but live and work in Spain since 25 years ago. So I've been working with Gallery Ramfjord for 7 years by now. It's my 3rd residency working inside the gallery. And I'm really happy to have made it up here through COVID-ridden Europe and made it safely to Norway to spend 1 month with those guys here.
Yeah, we're very, very happy to have you here.
I'm glad to
and
hear
it's
that.
very strange times because I'm actually going to talk about the residency later because probably a lot of people don't know what an artist in residency actually is. And especially since we in Norway call it an artist in residency, which is an English word. And but we will come back to that because we started off, this is our 4th residency. And the reason why we are speaking English is because most of our artists, not most, but 3 out of 4 here today is international artists. And we know that we have some listeners from the US and from other countries as well. So we need to speak English, and the Norwegian people are so good at it. So, and they will understand perfectly well. Even though a couple of people, yelled at me for having everything in English now. But yeah, that's how we're going to do it. Yeah. So I was thinking that we should talk a little bit first about how you all became artists, and we will talk about the residency program a little later. And first of all, I actually want to ask you, how old are you? How old are you, Valeria?
I'm 25.
Yeah, you're young.
I'm 39.
Arne is 39.
And I'm 30.
Kesja is 30.
Oh my God, I'm 50.
Yeah, you are. And Gabriel is 50. So we
How
have
old
the
are you,
whole
Elizabeth?
I'm almost 50. Next year, actually. Yeah, so I'm 1 year younger than Gabriel. But we have this range of experience and this range of age. which is really interesting, I think. And we also have 50-50 men and women. Except for me, because I'm not the artist. I'm just a gallerist. I didn't get the chance to introduce myself. So my name is Elizabeth Ramfjord, and I have been running Gallery Ramfjord for 22 years. So yeah. So yeah. And some of you I have been working with for a long time, and like Gabriel for like 7 years now, and you for two years, 3 years,
1 year.
1 year. Wow.
Not even. It will be 1 year in December.
And so much happened in that year.
Yeah,
for all of you, actually. But we will come back to that. So, Valeria, if you start telling us how did you become an artist?
I started as a joke. I was a child and loved painting, and I remember my sister had this notebook. It was like a turquoise, and I have an older sister, and it had these little cartoons in the corner of every page, like Disney cartoons, and I really loved them. I was about like, I don't remember, 8 or 9, and but then my sister was reading a lot and writing book quotes in there, and she didn't really want me to use that notebook because obviously I would be ruining it. So then I decided to make my own cartoons. So I just like looked at those tiny like 2 by 2 centimeter drawings and copied them on our bigger thing, and I was quite good at like copying things. And then, that's how it started. And then,
how old were you?
I was, I don't know, I was about 9, but then I started taking some classes, and then I had an exhibition when I was 11, which was insane. And I think it took me a while to understand and grow into it and like choose to do art consciously, but it started really, really early. Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Arne?
Yeah, I guess I was like her too. I loved drawing from before I can remember. And like one of the first sentences I could say apparently was "Give me the crayon." And my mom told me that they would give me like pieces of paper to draw on when we were, for instance, in church. And she told me that this guy was more into drawing than most kids that age. So I just kept doing it, throughout my whole childhood, and I guess I was also kind of a daydreamer type of person. I could get really lost in my own thoughts and had my drawings out and kind of drew myself into a different dimension in a way and forgot about.
So you didn't copy things like Valeria. So you actually
I did more from imagination. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. How about you, Kesja?
I always loved drawing and painting since I was a little girl. And I had very supportive parents as well. They would always make sure that I get involved in all the activities that had to do with art.
Oh, that's good.
And yes, yeah. And my mom, she knows how to paint as well. So I think I got that after her. And so at age 12, I started art education. And then I never stopped painting, really. And I think it was, it was something I always loved to do. And I didn't do it consciously. I was just
doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Gabriel?
Well, I think more or less on the same lines, that I discovered drawing as a kind of establishing a relationship with what I saw around me, even if as a child, and drawing the one way that when you make a mark on paper. I remember my mother telling me that in primary school I was actually coming home crying because they asked me to draw between lines, not cross the line, not go over it, and I just couldn't do it. So probably it's a limitation that turned into something, to explore. So you feel, I don't know, that reality seems so, and life seems to be, for me, seems to be such a fascinating thing that I think I want to know more about it, and then I just felt the need to understand it better, and the only way to understand what you see is actually try get it on paper or into a painting or whatever. So it becomes so much deeper. It doesn't tell you how to paint, but it tells you how to see in the first place.
Yeah, and that's. But I'm so. It gets me so sad, to hear that you were actually asked, at school to draw, because it could have killed your passion for it.
Yeah.
And I think maybe if you are a kid and somebody tells you that you're doing things wrong, or that you actually just give up.
Yeah, the problem was that I think it was when I was supposed to write letters, so it wasn't really the drawing bit. But I must, in defense of my teacher, I had the most wonderful primary school teacher because she recognized me as, somebody with a potential to be creative.
Yeah.
And I always messed up my drawings. They weren't as clean. I remember drawing a Christmas tree, and I admired those girls around me who could do each needle on the tree like that, and I couldn't. I tried. I must say I tried hard at the time being. So it was just this brash green thing in the middle that was a Christmas tree. But my teacher, she recognized me.
Oh, that's
always gave me the good
nice.
marks. Said like it should be a bit cleaner, but and then
she
I got my
probably
good
saw
marks.
your creativity and the talent.
Yeah.
But I also think that it's so important that that you have someone like that. Maybe at the early age or in school. And I also know because I talked to my son yesterday, and he's 15. And it amazes me that they actually never, in Norway, this is maybe particular in Norway, I don't know, but I think it's interesting that they never went to an art museum, and he's 15. So the first 6 years, they went to this technical museum and historical museum, but never an art museum, and they never entered a gallery. So that his classmates never went. But when I went to school, it's like over 40 years ago, but still I had this teacher like you who saw me and encouraged my drawing, and then she put up this theater. We made our own dolls and had hand. I don't know what it's called in English, but she did all these things because she was her. But then I realized that for example you and in Eastern European and countries, and especially maybe in Russia, you start so early, having art in school. So when did you have the chance, to learn or talk about art during your education?
I don't think it's about like starting knowing art in school as much as parents are. I don't know. I think parents are a lot more. I think just having hobbies is taken a lot more serious. I don't know how to say it. Like you always have to have an extracurricular activity that it's outside of school.
Yeah, but in Norway, that's sports.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It can
only
be dance.
Sports.
It can
no,
be
it's
anything.
not only sports, but mainly this activity is sport.
No, it can be anything. And then the moment that you like get a little bit good, then the parents like get really, really excited because that's so I think they get a lot more into it. But you get a lot more crazy parents that push children to like go to competitions and like try to be the best and win awards because it's good and you have to, and you get the other side of the coin as well, I think.
Okay, I didn't think of that because in Norway it's the total opposite.
Yeah. No, I don't think you get as relaxed parents as here. I think parents are here really relaxed.
Yeah,
no?
Me too.
Yeah.
What do you think, Arne? Because you are from Norway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just remember that there was a lot of like drawing and painting with watercolor and stuff in school when I grew up.
That was really early, right?
Yeah.
Or first, second, third grade. Yeah, and then it stopped. Or
yes, we had two, what do you call it, ungdomsskolen? Is that middle school?
Yeah.
High school.
We did have... yes. So, but I think, mainly if you love doing it, like you do it on your spare time.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. And
or if you have parents who is really encouraging.
Yeah, and I think in our family we had a lot of... my parents and uncles and aunts and everyone, they loved and appreciated, drawings and art, and like thought it was, something very cool. And a lot of them like to dabble in sketching and watercolor and stuff. And they're in the south of Norway too. There's a lot of artists that live there because it's, cheaper than living in Oslo, for instance. So there was like always some artists around, and some people had exhibitions and stuff like that. So.
Okay, that's cool. Maybe it's because it's small. Yeah. But Kesja, how about because you grew up in Poland?
I think it was quite similar to what Valeria said. So this would be something that you do outside school, like after in the evenings usually, and I think I would have to say that it's mainly because my parents really wanted me to draw, and they saw me being into it, so they would take me to this certain places that you can learn all the techniques and everything at the very early age.
But what was that besides school? Because I got
Yeah.
the impression that you actually did art classes.
I did. I started art school at the age of 12, but before that I didn't have any.
But what kind of art school can you start actually at the age of 12?
I think that's college, right? 12.
So you can study art at college.
Yeah, you can do that. It was combined college with high school, so it was like a 6 years of education. But you could start as early as 12 years old.
In a way, that's.
So I think
you can go to
Mm-hmm.
Steinerskolen and then it's more like so you have some options.
It was
but still
it was
it's
very
not the
intense
same.
because I had to do what other children had to do at this age, and the plus so the art subjects were the addition, like an addition. So it was very intense. I would wake up at 7 o'clock, go to school at 8, and then I wasn't finished until 5 p.m.
And you were 12, but what did you learn?
What did I learn?
It was like art.
Yeah, we were
like 100%.
Oh
art.
yeah. We had everything that other children had. Plus, we had sculpture. We had like 4 hours of painting every week. Then art history.
Wow.
And it was very intense. And
I wish we.
I think it was like additional. I would say 10-15 hours a week. Compared
that's
to
a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
that's a
very
lot.
intense.
That explains a few things about the quality of your painting, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, definitely.
Because-
And
I thought
the
you had the
technical
same.
part, especially the
yeah.
technical part.
And I think that you say that now, I think what you said about drawing outside lines also says a lot about you, because you always
Okay.
work on this
Yeah.
huge...
I'll take that as a compliment.
But that shows his personality as well.
Yeah,
I think it does.
But Gabriel is the only one who doesn't have a predetermined size. He rolls out the canvas as big as possible and then uses it as a piece of paper. And I think that's really unusual. At least now, between us, nobody does that.
Yeah, but definitely. And you are definitely more free. We have artists that's kind of at the same page as you, but still it's like really liberating. It's like it is because it's like and especially when you are working together, because now we can actually talk a little bit about the residency, because it's a residency is in Norwegian at the kunstneropphold, where you gather artists, sometimes from all around the world, and give them a studio and sometimes an apartment. So the first residency we did was actually inside the gallery, which is not very common. I actually haven't heard of any galleries who did that before, and I was really inspired because I'm in charge of this residency program at the museum in Jersey City outside New York, which is called Mana Contemporary, and they have a huge museum on 3 floors. It's like thousands of square meters. And they host 80 artist studios inside the building. And inside this building, there's a foundation called the Eileen Kaminsky Family Foundation, which is a foundation, private foundation supporting artists. And I'm on the board of directors, and that's a long story, and I will not go into that now, because then I will be talking for hours. But each year for 8 years, I've been sending artists to Jersey City to paint. And I realized the importance of putting together a group of artists that is not only talented, but they also need other qualities, like being nice. And I'm so sorry to say this, but there are a lot of artists that are not that nice. And I was thinking about putting these artists together, because sometimes there were 8, 9, 10 artists. It was like a lot of artists. And I never done this before. And I was like, okay, I'm responsible for sending these artists there to paint for a month. And my first criteria was a Norwegian word called raus, which I have never found an equal English word for. Arne, could you help me?
Somehow generous, I guess?
Yes, somehow generous. But it doesn't cover it all, but it's like generous. I think it's the closest word. And It's because if you have one artist in a group who are jealous of the other artist or doesn't, have this generous quality, you will ruin the whole group. It needs just one bad seed. So for me, it was like this very difficult task because I had to pick artists that were not only talented, but they had to have this quality and they had to be nice and they have to work together. And some of them were living together, working together, like you did many times for a whole month, sometimes 6 weeks. And it's a long period of time.
But can I ask, did you learn that from like experience, or did you kind of went with that principle from the beginning?
I went with that principle from the beginning, but I screw up.
Yeah.
So of course, you always have to screw up because it will go wrong at some point.
Yeah.
And then you learn from it. And then it was like, okay, I had to make sure that I knew the artist. I did this crazy thing with Arne last year because I didn't know you. You remember?
Yeah.
And I said to her,
You didn't know me either. You didn't know me more than him.
No, but that was the first time.
But he looks a nice guy. That's probably bad.
And you, I wasn't sure. I was like, she looks nice. She could be this really, really bad evil. But Arne, no, but you were the first one I actually took a chance with.
Okay.
Because we talked it over. I talked with Anders, of course. I'm sorry. And I was like, yeah, I think he's nice. And I was right. But sometimes you have to go with a hunch.
Yeah.
So it's...
And I had just watched the movie Yes Man.
Oh,
Because we just got to know each other and you said you want to go to America for a month. And I said, maybe I should think. No, I should say yes immediately. And I just...
And you did it.
I did.
And it was great. So, but that was actually my 4th year.
Yeah.
And Gabriel, you were actually at the first residency.
It was 2015. Yeah.
No.
2015 was my first
it was
month. I think it was the second time that
it was the second
the
time.
residency existed, and
Yes.
it was. And well, I shared immediately, got in contact with your other 2 Norwegian artists who were going, and they were looking for a place to stay, and we got a place together. And well, I was 45 back then, and Christina was 35, and Olaf was 25. So suddenly I was together with these people all day whom I didn't know that well. But for me, it was really like getting energy into my career again. I think I only figured out that outside there I should do things, widening my spectrum and widening my contacts, because things in Central Europe, art market-wise, were getting really difficult after the crisis, the 2008 crisis down there. And my life has become so much more interesting, and I hope my art too. But it was such a brilliant chance for me to get going and not to hope for contacts in New York, but just working in that context really made me rethink the why I did things and what you could actually do in a context like that. Whenever I'm on a residency, I work at least twice as much as
all the
what I
artists
do.
does, and they are so surprised.
You can tune into the energy if people are willing to share their working energy. You can tune into your energy. You got a certain rhythm. I work in the mornings, but if I come in the afternoon and I see 2 or 3 people working, then it's really easy to pick up the brushes and say, like, let's see. I'm kind of exhausted, but let's see if I get started again, I'll do another round. So that's 2 days in one.
And you get really inspired. How about because you did the one last year? That was your first residency.
Yeah, I think I love it. I love the well, I've done it 3 times now as well. Once last year, and this is the second time this year. And what I like about it, which I realized this year, is that it also serves as a very much kind of like a kind of a place you go, or I go, to reevaluate and think back on how things have changed. And I really came across a lot of I really understood that a lot of things have changed in 1 year. And I was thinking back at my first residency, and I was thinking, wow, I was so, because first I was the youngest in the group, like I am now. and I just had met you like a month before, and in 3 days you decided that we're gonna have a solo show in 2 weeks, and then we're gonna have the residency.
That sounds like Elizabeth.
Yeah, and then and then I was so eager to like prove myself that you made a good choice, and it's worthwhile that I'm here, and I have I'm I have to give back in a way, and also like defend my space, my place here, that and I felt like I had to prove a lot. And I think looking back at it, it was definitely an experience, and I learned a lot from it, but I think it was also very, very a bit immature, and not very pragmatic in the long run, because I was trying to prove myself without thinking about the art. And coming back after a year, I took it with so much more calm, and it was such a revelation, I think, and I really unlocked something, and I understood something about how to approach art. And that regardless of what's happening around you.
But that must be that have to be a year of self-search, because nobody else probably told you all this.
No, yeah, but it's not even about the year of self-search. I think it's about coming back to the same space with some of the same people, some other people, and being in the same position, in the same routine. It's like, I think that provides the space for thinking and reflecting
But
one thing.
I remember,
this is also really different, because we 1 year ago we were 13 artists.
Yeah.
And you and Gabriel were at the same, and Arne.
same room.
And now it's so much smaller, because now you're only 4. And obviously it has to do with the COVID situation, that we couldn't get the rest here, because you were willing to do the quarantine. But not everybody had the opportunity. So do you think that this is better because now maybe it has been a little bit more lonely, because you're only 4, and now you're not sharing an apartment, and you are like it's a totally different residency.
I honestly don't think it's better or worse. It's just a different time.
I agree.
Yeah.
Maybe last year when we were 13 is more like a summer camp,
Yeah,
where a lot of
it's
people
so
live
crowded.
together, and you get so eat so many meals together, and there's like all these different activities with different combinations of people.
It's more social,
Yeah.
definitely.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
But now it's a little bit
I
more calm.
remember there was 2 options after dinner. We had dinner together, and then it was the choice was 3 choices. It was either doing the dishes, that was discarded immediately, or going back to the gallery and do some more work. And then I'm talking 11 at night here, or going to Edvard Munch's grave.
Yeah.
And have a chat on art. So that was our 3 options. And I remember all those the little videos on the phone. It was just black and the crunch of the graveyard. Everybody walking
and you
there.
actually were looking for Munch's grave for a lot of time before you actually found it.
Oh, yeah.
And when they found the grave, they decided to go there at night and toast for Munch.
And have a cigarette, for the smokers. Yeah.
And that was that. But I actually, I was walking home one day. No, I had been to the center of Oslo, and I was walking up Ullevålsveien. And then I saw a shadow, between the heck, what it's called, not the heck, but the hedges. And then it was Peter standing by Munch's grave painting. You remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
I
didn't
drew
know,
him while he was painting on the graveyard.
Munch got a lot of attention that year.
Oh, yeah. I still go back every once in a while remembering the good times.
Whiskey or so. It was like a real toast.
Now we're supposed to give away all these
I'm
little
sorry.
notions.
But you are actually artist, and we talked about this yesterday, because Gabriel said to me that, we have to turn up, if not drunk, we have to turn up like with a huge hangover, just, to fulfill the artist myth.
Well, yeah, I think there's a bit of that hanging in the air, but I probably would have been quite destructive on myself if I lived in. I mean, being an artist is much more serious than it sometimes looks from the outside, I think, because
definitely
it's not that you sit around waiting for inspiration, having a glass of wine. It really is inspiration. It's
many
not all.
people actually think that.
Yeah, I
that
know.
artists are sitting around waiting for inspiration, drinking a glass. That's exactly what many people think.
Yeah, but I mean, inspiration comes, but you have to be there when it happens. And if it finds you at a table over a glass of wine, you won't do anything with it. I mean, there's plenty of hours while I work when I can't say that I'm necessarily inspired. But maybe I'm just waiting for the moment to come, and you can't tell even with 30 years into it. Don't know when the good day comes. Yeah. And sometimes you have to go through bad days, but you have to go through them. If not, you can't avoid them.
No, but many artists, and this is not a joke, they are telling me that, oh no, I haven't painted for 2 months. And I said, why? It's like, the writer's block. I don't know what you call it in the artistic paintings, that you get a paintings block.
Yeah.
And like you can get away with it just because you're an artist. But it doesn't work like that, does it? Yeah. That you can actually take a pause for 2 months because you can blame it on the.
I think when you, as Gabriel said, when you expose yourself to different environments and different situations, very often that generates some inspiration. And it's a good idea to take down notes and sketches, maybe even like images on your phone, photographing things that inspire you, because then you have a storage of things that inspired you that you can use on a rainy day, so to speak. And I feel like with creativity, it's not just something for painters or musicians or writers, but even a lot of like business people or like even engineers that you talk to, they have similar things, like inspiration and solution to something comes out of nowhere. So a lot of people, they sleep with a notebook on their next to their bed because they wake up in the middle of the night and all of a sudden they have this idea, but they have to write it down. Otherwise, when they go to sleep and wake up again, it will be gone.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like you have to harvest these moments of inspiration that you get.
But do you get like days where you don't feel like paint at all, and where you just don't feel like getting up in the morning and days? I'm not speaking about one day, but for a long
period.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But I think I think I'm trying to harvest my hunger.
That's a good one.
In a way that, because of course you get exhausted, and I think it's very easy to go into these periods where you just kind of strain yourself so much that at one point your body and your mind gives up a little bit, and it takes a lot longer to recuperate. So I think you always have to be aware of that, and it's always good to at times to avoid that crash to happen, to take half a step back and maybe work on some drawing or some technical things, but give it a little bit of space so that the flow is rather than an avalanche and nothing. It's more like managed and continuous.
But how did you become so wise? You
So
are
wise.
you are the same person like a year ago that didn't open your fridge and eat
true.
for a month.
Yeah, but that was part of it. I was like that.
That was kind of part of taking care of yourself. And
My then boyfriend, now husband, came back and opened the apartment, the fridge in the apartment, and I hadn't opened it for 3.5 weeks.
I know.
And he was like, he just didn't have any words. He just shook his head in disbelief. So no, but I think I crashed a few times. And I would work so much that I got to the point where I needed 2 weeks of sleep and just complete the
because that's something different, work around the clock and then be so productive, and then just crash and need 2 weeks of sleep.
And it's also in the way that you also don't get input from the world, because if you go on these craze of painting and painting and painting, then you're always in it, so you don't go outside and interact very much, and then you crash and you need that time to recuperate yourself, and you also can't go out there and live life and have something to paint about. So it's also about that, I think.
Yeah.
I feel it resonates with me. Even at this age, at 39, I can still, go through periods where I forget to eat. Or let's say I want to keep time spent on eating to the minimum, just maybe getting some cereals and coffee, and just don't waste time on that. And because you're in your bubble.
Yeah.
And
we were just talking with Kesja yesterday, Kesja, about, sorry, I'm mispronouncing, about how good the food tastes after
after a while of
After 3 weeks.
starvation. Yeah. But I think to find a balance between our work and our private life is something that we're constantly working on.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be determined to paint wherever I feel like it's time to paint, because I think just standing in front of a canvas, looking at your paint and getting your colors mixed, that's pretty inspiring itself.
Yeah.
And I think it's very good when inspiration finds you in front of your canvas, So a part of that, I think it's also very important to eat healthy, even though it's I find myself being without food for many hours just because I was involved in what I was doing. I think it's just something that we have to constantly working on.
But didn't you say that you sometimes go 3 days without eating?
Yeah, but that's something but
She does it on
not
purpose.
it's not like I don't remember to eat. I just do it in purpose because I think it's
but that's a good metaphor, because that's how it works with art as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like stay hungry. I mean, I think it's good if you take a week off and you just don't think about painting. You just focus on something totally different, and then you go back to whatever you're about to do, and you're so like it tastes so good, you know.
And I actually had this. You said stay hungry, and I remember I took some classes with this very eccentric artist who was a very good teacher, and he was always saying, this is not how you, he was very kind of, you had to take it with a pinch of salt, but he was very assertive. And he was like, this is not how you paint. You wake up in the morning, you take a cool shower, never paint on a full stomach. You never want to do anything on a full stomach. And when you don't paint, never watch any TV, because your colors get all muddled up when you paint. And when you paint when you're starved, then your colors are tasty and you can see it.
Sometimes they do look yummy, you know, when you mix these colors, they actually look like,
I like that cake that you actually painted recently.
Thank you.
One day it's gone, you know.
So did you
marks
think,
on the canvas.
You produce food, to then include it. You make a cake to include it in a photo that you're then going to paint. So what is the joy you get out of the cake? Is it doing the food or the food for thought, knowing that it will become part of your painting?
Or maybe
and that
we
you're
should
going
show the cake painting.
Oh, yeah.
Is it possible, Ken?
Yeah.
I never got to introduce Ken because he's sitting behind Bak. We say in Norwegian, and I had no idea how to say it in English, but he's the technical man.
He's everything.
He's in Houston.
And
we have a
I'm
problem
so
there.
sorry I forgot to introduce you. He's been sitting here the whole time. But maybe we should actually show some art, because I'm not sure if people are actually listening or if they're watching or in the... We never done this before, so we will actually...
maybe we can try to
we
describe.
can explain meanwhile.
Yeah.
Maybe...
Paint with words.
But I have to tell this short story because not short story. I will tell you a short story. No, but yesterday when we were going to do the filming, I met Valeria in the door, and you were just running towards the door with just your painting gear on, and you said, "I have to pee, but I'm more hungry, and so I have to have food." And then I said, Valeria, that's okay. You go out to buy some food, but you have no shoes on.
Oh my God.
And you didn't have any shoes on, so you had to go back to get your shoes, and then you ran out in the rain to buy food, and then you looked quite desperate. Speaking of food, I just remember the story. Should we put the Instagram account up? Maybe there it is. And we have a lot of, because now the recent post on our Instagram account is from the residency. So if you scroll a little bit down, we will find Valeria's.
It's
there
it
is
is,
Valeria's. There is Valeria's cake, and
Those
you actually
tasty
baked
paint.
this cake. You can tell us a little bit
you did?
about
Oh.
that.
Yeah, so I never made a cake in my life, and then I got this idea for a painting, and I honestly sometimes I think that I could do anything if it's gonna end up in a painting, but no, I spent 3 days making this cake, and then I didn't have it's a 3-tier cake, but then I only have 2 tiers, so I baked it one day and then I didn't have enough, so I had to wait another day to make one more tier, and then all that old school piping, and my whole kitchen was in like different bags of different color piping, so it was a real mess, but I got there in the end, and I know, well, I tasted the cake, but it was so old by the time I got to taste it that we didn't actually eat it. We tasted it, and then it was all over my face as well, so
So this is a self-portrait.
yeah, and
this is
yeah.
also kind of what you figured out the last year, that you wanted to make the self-portraits.
Yeah, I mean, I'm conscious. I'm very. I feel part of me feels really bad for it, but I don't know, not self-conscious, but I do a lot of. I made a lot of self-portraits this year, and but it started at the beginning because of the situation where we were all in. So before this, I was painting friends and family members, and then with COVID, I didn't get to do that, so I had to start painting myself, and then I would stage these situations and work on the props. And then my husband would take the photographs, and he would take he's been such an amazing help, and he would take 300 photographs, and then I would choose one that kind of fitted the idea that I had in my head, and a lot of things would happen accidentally as well. But yeah, I think it was a good way to look inwards, and I actually discovered that this is definitely going to be a period, and I hope I don't spend my entire life painting myself, because that would be a bit pathetic. But
not necessarily. I think I think it's actually a really good idea, and what you told yesterday as well about these emotions that you want to capture.
But what I discovered was I really like people. I don't do very well in groups. I do quite well one-on-one. And so before that, I would kind of try to have these lengthy 2-3 hour interactions and meet people where they live and in their safe space, in their bedrooms.
And it's actually one of those, if you scroll a little bit up just there,
on the left.
So this is actually one of Valeria's.
This is actually another artist. She's called Ingrid Bjørnali, and it was in her studio. But but what I was gonna say, I also felt that kind of interaction is quite unnatural, because I'm basically going to someone's house for 3 or 4 hours to interrogate them, and our interactions become quite intimate, because I ask about a lot of things, like what are you scared about, what are you afraid about, and a few times, especially in Norway, I think because people don't tend to talk so much about their feelings, or not as often. That's what I discovered. I felt like at times I either was too intrusive or wouldn't be able to go as far because of the fear of being too intrusive. And I don't have that problem with myself, because I just dig deep. And it was rewarding in the way that I could I knew that the feelings that I was talking about were true, and I knew where they were coming from, because they were based on previous events, and it felt more like real to me. And I think based on the connection that based on the response that I got, I feel like people could connect to them a lot more, because they're a lot more intimate.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they are more universal in a way, because I feel you're using yourself. You have confidence with yourself, and you're using yourself as a figure,
and a storyteller,
to a storyteller,
kind of.
exactly. and that gives you some distance even to yourself. I don't find them like self-revealing or like digging in your soul. I just find they're so staged in a positive way. I'm not saying that negatively. That they, for me, they remind me a bit of the Cindy Sherman fake film stills. You know, that like, you know, the film, you've seen the movie, but it's actually not the movie, but somebody doing that. And they're quirky. There's fun in there as well, which I really like. But a kind of deep fun, not the superficial laugh that you might get. You know, so and the way you play around with varieties of settings, and it almost becomes you're such a painter. You know, that at the same time you give it this conceptual edge, because people should know about or can know about to get some more information about the paintings, that it's not just the depicted, but it's the story about your husband taking the photos, you coming up with the setting, you choosing the angle, you choosing the elements that you're going to include in the painting. So I think there's much more. And then on top, they're really well painted, you know, so you're not just
authentic. So it's like a good thing.
And I think over time also, like, throughout, if you do this throughout your life, like with Rembrandt's self-portraits, it's like how you can see he physically changes, but also his style kind of changes. And as he gets older, it's just like this, his face dissolves into paint in a way. And it's so interesting to follow that progression. Like he really found his loose and bold mark making more and more as he got older.
And you can see him kind of also when he gets really old and loses it all, kind of also how he kind of loses it.
Yeah,
almost.
but sometimes they're also the best in a way, because it becomes paint.
Oh my God, I actually asked my husband if I ever get some sort of mental illness.
You're anticipating things here.
Alzheimer's. Have you seen portraits, like self-portraits made by Alzheimer patients?
No.
It's so raw, and it expresses so well how their just construction of image degenerates. Anyway, I asked him to let me paint.
Yeah, well, that's good. But Kesja, this image on the I'm so sorry, but I never get left and right.
Okay,
I don't know the difference. Yeah. Is it at left?
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
You can say
either embarrassing, but
Gabriel.
It's
You're
very
not right,
good that I don't have a driver's license. But this is this is Kesja. Kesja.
Yeah.
We always say your name wrong.
I think I respond to Kesja better now.
Yeah, because everybody calls you Kesja, and I was like, Kesja.
Let's call it a name.
Whatever.
So this is your painting, and
Beautiful.
yeah, it's so beautiful. I think we actually sold
Thank
it.
you. Oh, you?
Half an hour
Are you joking?
ago.
Oh, you did? Oh,
It's reserved, so
okay,
it's
I didn't know.
yeah.
Well, sooner or later,
Thank you.
know. No.
So it's
not even right yet.
Kesja's.
I didn't sign it though.
No, but I'm fast, but not that fast.
Okay.
you will get your chance to sign it. Is it possible to press on the picture, so you can get the other images up? Because there are because we put up progress images on Instagram on all the artists.
Yeah,
this is quite interesting because the way you paint. There she is inside the gallery.
My chin is gone here.
That happens to me too. When I'm drawing, my wife tells me.
You're trying to keep the distance from your paint.
Yeah, because
moving backward.
Deep
but
doubts.
It's very interesting there you are, to watch the artist paint. And I have the privilege to do that every day. And sometimes for like around the clock. We had residency where it's someone in the gallery
that's
all the time.
the good thing about the residency for your clients and people, visitors to the gallery.
Yeah.
Me as an artist, I love being able to talk about unfinished work because I can point out things, I can explain things of how my working process, and I might even find out about my working process because I have to tell somebody about it. In my studio, I never have to do that.
No, and that was actually one of my questions because since we are actually doing this in a gallery, and as I said earlier, we had the residency at Mana, we had its residencies all around the world. And the residencies is about getting a studio, for a month, 3 months. Sometimes Joel did 3 years. So it's possible, and some of the costs are covered, and sometimes they are not. So part of a residency program is also meeting the other artists, but it's not open studios. Very often it's closed. So you get there and you paint with your fellow painters, artists, and then you're not allowed to actually visit the artists. So that's why we thought of having it, inside the gallery, so that this is very funny. This because I took a video and I thought it was a photograph, and it's just moved. It's very disturbing.
It comes alive.
But it's it's the first stage of Kesja's painting. But now that was a sidetrack. Now I have to get myself in there again. What was I
gallery?
talking about?
I was saying the
Inside the gallery.
for the visitors.
Yeah,
it's
because
so good.
actually it's very. It's not that common to invite people into the. It's like an exhibition, so that the public can actually come and visit the artists during the weekends. But as I promised you, and it was part of the deal, that the artists are coming in, they will not be disturbed during Mondays to Fridays, and then they will be present in the galleries during the weekends, so that people actually can come and talk to you. But is it like you think going to an artist in residency, and it's kind of that you have to accept that people are coming because it's part of the deal, or do you actually enjoy it? I should ask anyone but Gabriel first, because I know you're enjoying it.
Oh, if I enjoy it?
Yeah.
Well, I think the whole idea with the residency is just great. Because for the main reason why I think so is that as artists, we very often feel isolated from the society. So it's nice to feel that we're actually part of it. And I think it's really great to be able to paint with other artists during the week, just to have them around you. I think it's a great idea. And when it comes to the people that come in during the weekend, they're so nice. So I think if it depends who you actually of the individuals, but I only have really great experience, so I really enjoyed it, and I'm not expecting to do a lot of work during weekends. I'm more focused on being available for the people who come and would like to talk to me.
Yeah, I remember your first open studio day, and you were quite shocked because you didn't get to do anything, and you had all these plans.
So I remember, and now I'm not planning to work over those focus areas in my painting, like face on the difficult parts. I would just rather paint the sky, for the or whatever, like the background areas. But I think it's a great idea just to let people get to know the artist better and to see the progress. And I think it's very exciting for them, and it's also a great experience for us.
Yeah. And I think the conversations you get with people who come in, and what they get from your paint, and like some thoughts that they have that you didn't really have thought about yourself, that they get from your works, it's very inspiring. Because just as she said, when you're typically working alone in your studio, you don't get all of that in a normal week.
And I also think that we paint in such different ways and have such different approaches and like themes that it's also very interesting to see that people that come in, they're all different. And some people resonate with what you do. Some people resonate with what another artist does. And I think that's really beautiful.
And people spend a lot of time.
Yeah.
We had many people last weekend who came in and they walked out after 2 hours. Yeah. And I was like, wow, they really must enjoy themselves because they stayed in the gallery for so long and wanted to talk to everyone and listen. But I will ask you first. I'm sorry because I'm talking too much. Yeah.
Look who's talking. Well, what I think as well it's such an opportunity because your gallery is spacious, so you can really even up to 13 was getting to the limit, I think. But anything up to 10, there's enough space for 10 people to work alongside each other, and it's street level. It's got a very beautiful, especially on the side that we're working on now. It is so visible, and it becomes more so during the night. Whenever it gets dark, it's fully lit inside, so you feel a bit like you're floating in an aquarium, and
We're like goldfish.
people get glued. People get glued
That's
to the
true.
window looking in, and then we get a little sign up saying, well, on the weekend you can actually come in and have a look at things, and people, you see the same faces that then pop up on the weekend because they're so curious about it. And sometimes we take it for granted. We, with our paint tubes, our dirty, the terp smell, which, well, we cut down as much as possible, painting 4 people together. But all that becomes normal to us. So we're not aware anymore of how impressive that can be for somebody looking from the outside. I mean, we're like dinosaurs in a way. It's not digital. It's brushes with real hair brushes, probably. And you're using pigment mixed with oils that have been used like that for hundreds of years. And we're still doing that. And we feel out of time slightly.
And I also feel like it makes art so much more approachable. Like, I get some quite regularly people saying, I don't know anything about art. So I don't really know, but I like this or like that. Well, that's enough. Like, it's enough. I think it's so sad that, in a lot of places where you can see art, you feel very conscious about going in. I don't have an education in classical music. I never really understood opera, for example. And I think about that, and I think that I feel very conscious when I talk to people who love opera, and I feel like maybe that's how a lot of people think about art.
Definitely.
And I think it's so nice to just make it more relaxed, and it's what you like, and that's it.
And today it's not anymore, I think, because things are changing. It's not anymore about this beautiful or impressive object that is finished in a way. Nowadays, with everything, people want more than that. They want an experience too. And this is not a fake experience that we put up for people to get an illusion. This is the real thing that we're doing, and it all becomes visible, and people will not only have a painting, maybe if they decide to buy something, or buy a print which is available of some of the works coming into being there. But apart from that, they have the memory of the experience of meeting the artist, and hopefully, they didn't come as a disappointment. But they complete the image somehow, and they get
for
clues.
Us, the sales are just a bonus.
Yeah.
If someone, because the first time we did it, we were having this exhibition after. So it was like, my plan was that all the artists should make 5 paintings each at least, which was possible in a month because you work twice as hard as usual. But still, and then we would make this exhibition. But what I didn't think of was that people actually were buying.
Unfinished paintings.
You bought,
it was like.
So that was kind of a bonus, but because that was not my plan. We had actually put it. It was our 20th anniversary, and I was thinking we have to do something crazy. And I put aside some money for a project that we would do, to celebrate our 20th. That was the first residency.
It worked out so well.
And so I thought this will be a total minus project. We will not earn any money on it, but it will be a cool event. So I actually didn't think that people will come, can we buy something? And I was like, yeah, I think so.
And
you can.
I'm just thinking, we talked
something.
about children and them being involved in art, and I noticed there's a lot of children coming into the gallery.
And it's so cool.
I think it's really great because I could see them being inspired by what they saw. They wouldn't talk much, but I think it's just great that they can have that bit of art culture, and it's beautiful.
Sometimes we had artists like Mai Lasauri and Joel Daniel Phillips he makes the drawings, and she made these incredible huge canvases that changed from day to day. And then she actually, the children sat down with her painting a whole day during the opening. You remember many times the children and they came in to draw because they saw this pencil, and every child, had hold a pencil.
They
and
always
it was
into
like,
it.
is it possible to make a 2 meter full figure with one pencil? And they were like, wow. So they got to sit down there and draw. And this is something we should actually do.
They are the art lovers of the future. In a way, you have to build right from the beginning some interest, and especially not having that threshold that you have to walk into a gallery, open a door, and people tell me, well, but what if I'm being asked something? What if I get a price list put in my hand? And the galleries can be quite scary. Even I feel that in New York, when you're on a residency, you go in there and you feel like, 5 minutes and then I'm out.
But
and
I
I'm
was
out
stupid
again.
enough to go into an art gallery in Chelsea, and I was actually asking for the price of one of the paintings. And in 2 seconds, it was like a man in a suit coming out of the back room. He was pulling out a chair, putting me in the chair, and opened a bottle of wine.
Oh my God.
And I sat down with 3 curators, and they were like, okay, so you want to discuss the price? And I was like, no, I just wanted to know the price. And it was like, and I got so scared that I didn't know how to handle it, because I was not going to drink wine with those 3 grown-up men. So that was intimidating. And after that, I almost never, dared to put a foot inside of one of those galleries. So it's like, it can be really, really scary.
Yeah, I agree.
I think,
And I think, as you guys mentioned, with for children, like drawing and painting is such an instinct, just like music and language. It's not like something very far away that you have to like somehow discover when you get much older. Like you have it from you're very small. So it's to bring art in a way that just connects with your natural instincts. I think that's just great without making it more complicated than it has to be.
And like we talk about it, all of us started at very early age, like when we were all children.
Yeah.
So it is like...
I remember me and my children and my friends in childhood, we would be...
Not yet.
No, not yet. Not yet. I have one
soon.
One on the way. And we would be maybe 10 kids sitting around for hours just drawing and painting and sharing stories what happened in our pieces. Just like a natural thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's so great. And especially now when the kids are growing up, you just wait and see, because you are about to become a father. And all with these, when my son was small, the Nintendos, and they were watching so much, on the screen that it was almost unable to sleep.
Yeah.
And, to bring out, the crayons and the paper, and they could, be activated. It's so much healthier. And I think it's
Well, I think it's like double-edged in a way. There's so much has been replaced by digital. Our art is circling on the internet, but it's all on a flat screen. It's all on our phones, and it's a small size. So work looks really different. Yeah. But when you get into facing a real piece, somehow has become more valuable in a way, because it is competing. It's the counterweight of what you've been dragged to anyway, into anyway. So I think really the re-evaluation of painting will be the next thing to happen in a way, because people on a one-to-one basis, they feel something for one piece, and it's so much more analogic, in a way, and people start appreciating that again.
And now it's been an absence of the painting for so long in the contemporary art scene. So it's like, but it's coming back now. And especially in the US,
painting,
it's like, and the figurative painting, definitely. We've been doing that for 22 years. But still, it's been we were talking a lot about this yesterday, about the art academy and the education and the lack of painting. I think we have been talking for a long time now. So we should probably round this up by taking, talk a little bit about that, because that really concerns me, and it really interests a lot of people. I think about the lack of painting in the art academy, and in not only in Norway. In Norway, it's a huge gap, but also the rest of the world. Valeria, tell me about your education or the.
Yeah, so I think I was quite lucky looking back, because I grew up in Moldova, and that's a post-Soviet country. So a lot of the good artists that were still practicing, the ones that were really good, they graduated from St. Petersburg Academy, which is like quite good, you know. It's
The Repin Academy?
the Repin Academy. And then I got this amazing teacher, Ivan Serbinov, who graduated from there, and he was this amazing amazing teacher. And I studied with him, but I studied with him on taking classes since I was 12. So I think I got the best of two worlds, because the art academies, especially the Russian school, is very much criticized for being too rigid, and for the fact that everyone's coming from the academy painting the same, and you can kind of spot where everyone has studied, even if you don't know it. And I think I managed to avoid that. But at the same time, I'm very, very glad that I had that basic knowledge of how to draw the human figure and how to understand proportions, because I think you need some understanding of that in order to create space and create emotions and make it easier for people to connect, because I think that's what's missing, and I think that's coming to Norway and having lived here for 2 years as an outsider. Most of the art that I've seen being exhibited in Norway is very abstract and very conceptual, and it's so much of it. Like in the UK, it's probably 50-50, but here it's so much of it that it almost feels like an artificial way to create an art scene. Because does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I'm not sure if I agree with you. But it makes definitely sense.
Yeah.
What do you think about the art education?
Yeah. So I would say that my art education was kind of self-directed. I ended up like moving around a little bit in different places in the world, and what I did, I found teachers or art studios that had something that I liked, and I asked them to teach me. So, for instance, when I studied at the University of Malta, I ended up renting a flat just by accident on top of an artist who had a studio. And I just walked down to him and I said, "Can I learn some of how you do this, how you handle paint, how you do it?" And I paid him, money every time. And he said, "Okay, go back to your apartment, draw me a situation from your room." And I did that, and he said, "Okay, so this is where you're at. I'm going to start here and teach you this and that." And then I made very quick progress from that, and I got commissions to do illustrations for magazines. I got on a talk show painting the Prime Minister of Malta, and I got a commission from the airport for many paintings. So when I later moved on to back to Norway, I found another teacher who was like teaching this kind of Caravaggio glazing techniques. And I ended up going to America and enrolled in Studio Incaminati. They also do this kind of figurative, more classical things.
That's really smart.
Yeah.
Make your own
career.
Make your own,
and
make your own education.
Make your own
It's
education.
like you don't have to. Yeah.
It needs guts, I guess.
Yeah. What about you, Kesja? You already told us that you went 6 years on the, but that was kind of on a college level, right?
Yes, and
high school.
Yeah, well,
school.
so I think it was really a great time, just because just to have the opportunity to paint every week and being kind of not forced, but being motivated to do it. It's a great thing. But well, people say that practice makes perfect, but many others would say that good practice makes perfect. And what I found very ironic was that they would ask me to paint every week for many, many hours for 6 years. But then at the same time, I kind of felt that none of the teachers there believed that you can actually make a living from painting. And so that was very discouraging for me at the time. And then I went to university, and I didn't find what I was looking for at the university. So I quit after 3 days. I just,
But what kind of university was that?
It was art university in my city as well. It wasn't what I wanted to do, but I just thought that this is the right thing to do, to go to university. But then I realized that I can learn so much more just by myself, like being, having this self-education, I would say. And I had all the skills. You can learn a lot during 6 years. I was really good at drawing, to get the proportions right. So, but then I thought the same, like the world was all about abstract paintings now, and nobody ever cared about it. I was always inspired by figurative art, realistic paintings, and this is what I wanted to do. So it was very important for me to become very good technically. And so then I can find my voice. But I thought, like, the first step is to get the skills and to start, to start understanding your tools as well.
So then you actually, because you were able to begin in that kind of early age, that none of us had the opportunity to do. You probably learned, the basic before you started rehearsing, and then you found out that if you are rehearsing every day, you get better.
Yes, but then then I thought, like, I learned all this stuff at school, so I got all this knowledge from the teachers that I had. But then I got to that point that I didn't see that I can learn anything else from them, like, because it was so I thought I have to take it, keep it in. How do you say it?
Keep challenging yourself.
Yeah, just keep challenging myself and trying to develop my skills and do it myself.
Well,
you are the only one, actually, Gabriel, who
did a full art training,
full art academy, even the master.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not sure that they really nowadays. It's very difficult. It's almost as if certain art schools are for a certain teaching, which doesn't necessarily have to do. You have to choose the art school for the style of education it will give. There's nothing, universal anymore about that. For me, I didn't get disappointed about not being taught really something, because I felt I was on my way. But still, art education, art school, I did 4 years for my Bachelor of Arts in Edinburgh in Scotland, and then did a master down in Barcelona. The experience of it is so impossible to tell apart. What is the change in my life that happened because I went to a different country, to a different language? But what is best about art education, without any doubt, in my ways, is exactly what you're offering in the residence, which is the person working, the person being part of a community, not having to prove your point all the time, have some kind of protective surroundings, which cannot be the case if you have within that institution people who question in a unconstructive way, question your way of working. If it's totally opposite, if somebody wants to get you if you feel you need paint and you need reality in your painting, or reality to relate you for your painting, then somebody coming up with an idea of conceptual art is just not the point. It won't help you in any way. That they want to turn you into somebody else.
No, but that happens a lot.
That happens
we know
a lot.
That,
it hasn't happened to me, because somehow being the one from outside the country.
No.
Is it because we are old, you think?
No. I'm also thinking that maybe things have changed a lot in the last 10 years. What happens in the art education?
It's because I work with artists
20.
every day, so we see it now. Yeah. So I see the artist that wants to, become painters, applied to the art academy. They're coming out of the art academy, and you said something funny yesterday, Gabriel, because you said I didn't have to recover that much after art academy. You said, and it was like kind of
Odd.
but because I had artists that been really good painters and drawers and came out of the art academy doing installations. So it's like you have to be strong.
But
And
that's
Well,
what
maybe
I'm
it's-
saying. I think maybe it was a lot more nicer to be in an art academy 30 years ago.
oh, definitely.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
trying to
And,
say.
and it's the one
Yeah.
as well. It's the one way where you go. I mean, Edinburgh being the capital of Scotland, anyway, it still is quite a small
Yeah.
art school in a way.
And you
And-
can also choose. So you can go to the Florence Academy of Arts, for instance, where you know that if you go to the Florence Academy of Arts
Yeah.
and you want to study sculpture, you have to use the first year drawing.
Or you can do what Arne did. I think this is also a great idea
Yeah.
because
It is,
I
but it's more lonely, if
But-
you see what I
Yeah.
mean. So
And
if
you
you
have to
want to
be
be
very
no, like
prepared for it. I
Yeah.
think mentally, I wouldn't. That's why I love the context. Once I created the context, I could see where and how
Yeah.
I could work within that. But I'm not the outgoing person. You're Norwegian. That was quite daring, wasn't it?
Yeah.
he took his easel in the
yeah.
middle of the street, starting painting in the U.S. Who would actually do that? So it's like he's kind of
Oh my God, you're
tough.
an exhibitionist.
Yeah.
maybe.
No, but I think you can also choose, But I think the most important thing, I hadn't actually thought of this before you said it yesterday. The thing that, because I have a lot of young people ask me, well, what should I do? I want to become a painter, and where could I study? Where? And it's so easy to say that you should find yourself a teacher, but you will not be part of a community. Like you said,
exactly.
you move to another country, and it's so safe, to be in with the fellow students and fellow painters and everything. So it must feel safer.
Well, you don't feel obliged with somebody working next to you. It's really easy to say this part is interesting. The other part of his working process doesn't interest me that much. And how could what could I not copy from there, but make my own? So it's like language, everybody's speaking a slightly different language, and you see beautiful words in there, and you start using them.
Yeah.
It's a bit like that. So
Yeah, I'm a bit sad I didn't get to catch this because I really did a huge research when I was applying to university, and I realized that my only two options were Florence Academy of Art and St. Petersburg. And for Florence Academy, I was a bit worried. It was quite expensive for me, and I was also a bit worried that I can spot the painters who went there, and I didn't like that much. And then with St. Petersburg, I didn't want to live in Russia, so I didn't apply. And I was talking to so many people who studied in the UK, and I'm so curious about how these the university has changed. Like Gabriel says that, what Gabriel says sounds like amazing, and I wish I could have been part of that. But at the same time, I have friends who have studied in London, and they tell me stories about really wanting to go into trying to understand figurative painting and trying to paint and trying to have the space to paint, and then having several art teachers telling them that this is outdated and this is not what you should be doing, and praising instead people who do performers art or
conceptual.
Yeah.
I think
It
it's
was
about to change.
very
It's
similar
really
to what
interesting to see what happens next, because we saw when we did the Miami the art fair in Miami the first year 8 years ago. We were the only small gallery from Norway. It was like 60 other galleries from all around the world. And it was 220 actually. It was a lot. And we were the only gallery showing oil paintings. The Americans came into our booth and they said like, oh, we smell oil. This is incredible. And we missed it so much. And then all the other galleries had some sort of conceptual art. And it was this blogger, and he was like, he wrote a piece on the gallery, and he said, I'm so sick of bling bling guns. It was like, because it was everywhere, and it was all this concept, and it was video installations, big installations, and it was like, and people were coming into our booth, and it was like, this we can actually understand.
Yeah.
So it was kind of liberating. But now, last year, it's like 50-50.
Yeah.
So it's coming more and more and more. So the paint the paintings.
So
And
so good
this-
to hear.
And actually, I think that would be my last word. I think so. We have been talking for a long time, and
That
this has
sounds
been
good.
such a great experience.
Yeah.
I hope we will do it again.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So nice.
And what did I just say?
This
Art
was
is back.
Last word.
Art
Painting is
back.
back.
No, the
Painting's
painting's
back.
back.
Painting is
Yeah,
back.
painting's back.
Which is a good last
Yeah.
word.
painting
Oh.
is back.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for
Oh, good.
coming.
Thank you,
It was
Always.
really nice.
Yeah.